Welcome to PHP Podcast. I'm Mike.
And this is Orlando, and we're on episode 289.
Yeah, this time it really is 289.
Yeah, the numbers threw me off. Even today, I was trying to make sure we had the right number.
Yeah.
So we're good. We're good. Those of you listening for the first time, we always, jump around these numbers, being that we've been recording for it's going to be 5 years here soon, right?
At some point, we just need to say it's an episode.
Yeah,
there's a number there. We've done a bunch of them. Check them out.
It's crazy how time has flown by. It does seem like a long time ago since episode 1.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. We've been through a lot. Anyways, we've been through a lot. It is an update episode.
Yeah.
So this is where Mike and I catch up on what's been going on with us as far as reselling. We talk about reseller topics, share some BOLOs, and what we're looking forward to. So what's been going on with you, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, it's been good. Got out to some garage sales, which is always nice. In fact, I wasn't planning on going to garage sales. My original plan was to wake up in the morning and list. And that night before I went to bed, I even did some my Facebook marketplace, which I try not to use so much for it's so hard. Have you ever used Facebook Marketplace to try and find garage sales?
It's terrible.
It's awful.
It's
the worst. In fact, I saw somebody mention it would be, I wonder if it's worth it to get a VR or not VR, VA, a virtual assistant.
Did you just look for garage sales?
To go through and map out all the garage sales for the weekend using Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, and any other neighborhood, all the local apps that are out there, and then just compile them based off of location and time start for you.
Interesting.
That might be worth it.
I do that every night.
Yeah,
it takes me a good hour or two.
But imagine if you can because it used to be so easy with the yard sale treasure map or whatever it's called.
See, I never got into it.
Oh my gosh, it was so that app was so nice because you could easily, because it did that for you. It pulled from Craigslist, it pulled from various places, and it kind of organized it. And then once they lost I think it was the Craigslist API, and they could no longer pull from them.
Craigslist has not changed their website since 1991 or something.
Yeah, but the crazy thing is it's still, you talk about eBay is still around, still the biggest, and it's Craigslist still is the place for a lot of things like that. A lot of people are still going to Craigslist.
That's true.
And it is the number one place, at least where we are, for finding garage sales, because the nice thing is you can do the map feature, so you can see how far they are away from you, which is so nice to do.
I remember one time it was unlinked. You click on it and it wouldn't tell you.
Oh, really?
It was like that for 3 months, a couple of years back. Anyways, go ahead.
So, but the nice thing is, throughout the week, I'd been kind of searching, and I like to look for neighborhood garage sales, community yard sales, and church rummage sales, those types of things. And it just seemed like it was going to be a slow weekend. And then I got a text message from a friend, and their neighborhood was doing their annual yard sale, and it had just barely been posted on Craigslist.
I missed that one. We talked about this, how there's one that I always like going to because it literally is 5 minutes from where I live, and it wasn't on Craigslist, so I didn't go.
So here's the thing. So there was 2 of them. So I didn't go to the one that where my friend lives, because he lives in a mobile home area. Yeah. I didn't go to that one.
Oh, that one I went to.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was talking about. So I
did go to that one. I know which one
you went to that one. But then I found out that there was another neighborhood in real close to where I live, just a few miles from where I live, and every year that I go, it's successful. They actually have it twice a year, and so I was like, I can't miss this. I was planning on listing today, but it's right here. It's right here. How can I pass this up? So I went, and the weirdest part was, for whatever reason, I had in my head that it started at 7. And I try to be thoughtful, and I know you got to go early, but it's been a little while since I've been crushing yard sales. It hasn't really been yard sale season. I've been doing other things. So I'm a little bit rusty, and getting there really, really early, I always feel bad, especially when people are setting up. I'm I'm not ready for that. I'm just going to go. I'm going to try and get there 6:45-ish, So I'm driving around, and there's people out there, but there was nobody. I'm literally driving through this community, and every time there's a yard sale, there's a lot of them, there was no competition. Nobody was there. I literally would drive up to a house, park right in front, walk around and look at whatever I wanted to look at, pick up whatever I wanted to pick up, get in my car, and not see another person, not another reseller, not another customer. And I'm what in the world is going on? And then finally by 7:30, I heard another seller say something yeah, I think it starts at 8, blah, blah, blah. And he was talking to somebody else, and I was like, oh. So I looked it up, and sure enough, it started at 8. So I was an hour early, which is oh, no wonder people go so early to these things, because I was crushing it on sales. Now, one of the ones that was most interesting here, and this is kind of a just showing that it's important to like focus and dig through things and not give up too early. So I was out in one of the sales and there really wasn't anything that caught my eye other than there was a stack of PSP games. So I'm going through the PSP games and about half of them had no discs in them and the other half had discs. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to see how much I can get for these. And I asked the guy, I said, do you have a PSP? And he kind of laughed and chuckled and he goes, I'm sure my son does somewhere, which that's not like a good sign, you know? And I'm like, okay, like, is it like here or, you know, like,
well, it's a good sign, but it's also, it's not a good sign, but it's a good sign, meaning that maybe there's stuff that hasn't been brought out.
Right. Yeah. And it wasn't that like, hey, I've got another box I'm going to bring out. It was like, yeah, he probably has one. So I'm like, oh, great. So I pick up the stuff and then I'm like, all right, how much for all this? And he says, hold on. My son should have been here by now. I guess he's not here. Let me call him. I'm like, oh, dang it. Like, I wish he would have just given me a price. So he calls him. We end up negotiating down to like, it was under $1 per game. I paid like 50 cents per game or something. And then he said, so do you know where the PSP is? And I guess his son told him, like, I thought it was there. I thought I brought it there, you know, however many weeks ago. So he goes, yeah, my son thinks it's here. So I was literally going through boxes. I'm going through bags. I'm opening up totes. Like he had like, you know, anything I could find. And finally I found like a box that had like shoes. It was nothing but shoes. And I started pulling the shoes off and inside was PSP and a Game Boy Advance. And I was like, yes, here it is. So nice. I ended up, you know, getting the Game Boy Advance, the PSP, and they're pretty scratched up. So they weren't in like perfect condition, but good enough. I mean, good enough condition. In fact, like the Game Boy Advance, I ended up paying $20 for everything here. So PSP and like 8 games, the Game Boy Advance, and the Game Boy game with the Game Boy Advance, which was a Super Mario game. And the game alone sells for like $25. So I was like, if nothing else, I'm going to break even on, or make money on just this game. So it was a pretty cool deal. But yeah, so as soon as I ask, of course, you've got to do the like, well, what do you think for all of this? So I'm trying to bundle it all together. Unfortunately, I already paid for the PSP games. And he says, well, I don't know. How much are these things worth? And he had saw that I was kind of like eBaying the PSP games earlier. And he goes, you know, I saw you on eBay. That's a good idea. Let me check eBay.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, oh, no.
That's the worst.
So he's checking eBay and he's like, holy smokes, these things go for a lot of money.
Oh, and I was like, looking at the sold. He was looking at what people wanted.
And I was like, oh, yeah, do they? And he's like, what model is it? And I'm like, it's the first one. He's like, well, it looks like these go for anywhere from like 90 to like 300, depending on. And I'm like, oh, gosh. And so I was like, do I have to do this whole like, well, let's look at solds? But I had already looked at solds and I saw that solds are pretty high. Yeah. So I'm like, I don't want to do this. And I was like, yeah, I mean, it's pretty scratched up. I'm not sure if it works. I mean, it's not. He's like, yeah, it probably needs a new battery. And so finally I was like, well, since I already gave you this much for the games, like, how about just 20 for everything? And he's like, okay, let's do that. He's all, and his response was, yeah, it's not like my son's going to be able to retire on that anyways. So, but the whole time I'm like, no, please don't look it up on eBay. I don't want to deal with this. Yeah, but the fact that I was willing to like, I could have jumped in my car and left, but I'm like, there's PSP games. There was enough buzzwords that they think the PSP might be here. I'm looking like it's not going to hurt. And I happened to find a Game Boy Advance too, which is pretty cool. So I have not picked up a Game Boy Advance this entire time that I've been reselling. You know, I picked up other consoles, quite a few consoles actually, but I haven't picked up a Game Boy Advance yet. So I get to add that to my checkoff list.
Yeah, Nintendo stuff. I've said this before. Since the vintage game market went up, it's been brutal, right? Because they're not in any of our thrift stores nearby. And then, you know, it's not like I remember one time I went to community yard sale over in the like Escondido area back in the day. And this was the glory. I call it the glory days of garage sales, where you would go and there would be like 50 and it was like a garage sale wonderland. Like it sales everywhere. Like you could, you know, it was beautiful. I miss those days. I've not seen anything like that in a long time. And I'll never forget it turning into a cul-de-sac. And everybody missed his house because it was like, you know, off the regular path. And I remember picking up like a Star Wars version of an Xbox or something. And then I picked up 3DSs, Super Nintendo games, GameCube games. I mean, it was crazy. And I only paid like $100 to make like $1,000, $2,000 on it. Like those days they're long gone. Like they're long gone. And, you know, at least here in San Diego, maybe we don't know. Maybe some of you that are listening are local here and you're like, I pick it up all the time. And I'm telling you, I must be missing on something. So good for you. So it's interesting you bring up garage sales because I've noticed lately, I've been really big about listing stuff right away from a garage sale. Now, Mike laughs at me because I have a lot of stuff around here that isn't listed still. But I've been pretty good about listing most stuff from garage sales, and I'm finding that I'm selling that stuff within 1 to 2 days. Right. So, for example, if you guys follow us on Instagram, last weekend I went to garage sale, and for example, I picked up a bunch of items from one house. I picked up like a pair of jungle boots, Tony Lama boots, Red Wing boots, Olakai sandals, and a bunch of other things. And I only paid like $29 for all of it. And right away, within a couple of days, I sold a pair of boots for $130. I sold a pair of Olakai sandals for $20. At the same time, I went to that mobile home community sale, which I always say don't pass up on the mobile homes, because sometimes it's retired people that they actually do have like nice things and they're just trying to, just get rid of it. Or sometimes there's people that are in between moves. I mean, you don't know everybody's situation there, right? Because I think, there's a certain, view that people have of mobile home parks, but I've had great luck at mobile home parks. And so, I picked up 2 cowboy hats and like a fishing radar thing for $20. And within a couple of days, I sold one of the hats for $75.
Nice.
Right. So, it's been like that pretty much every week. Every time I've gone to a garage sale, I'm like, I don't know if I want to go. And then I'll pick up a few items. I'm like, I don't know about the stuff. And then within 2 days, I'm already tripling, quadrupling my money. So definitely worth getting out there to garage sales. And just wanted to share, I went to San Francisco, and I always love going out there just because, there's a couple of thrift stores I'm really big fans of, but I tried the time away feature, and I do not think it's as good as the changing just your handling time and messaging people. Now, the time away does that automatically, right? It says sellers away. It automatically says that, the items won't be shipped out till this day. And you actually can set it up on eBay where you write your preform message and it just sends it out. And I got to tell you, my sales just died, right? They picked up like the day after I got back, like they skyrocketed for a day. And then I had a day where I had zero sales, zero. Now, did I get a couple offers? Yeah, I got some super lowball offers. Should I have taken those offers? Now I think I should have, but it was, because maybe it would have triggered the algorithm or something. But eBay as of late for me has been sketch in the sense that, I've gone up from February to now. I've gone up at least 600 to 700 listings. But I've gone down. I keep going down. Like last update, I said I was down $3,000 in my 90-day total. Now I'm down like $3,800 in my 90-day total.
Yeah, I think we're getting to that point now. I think a lot of people, most people who knew they were going to get tax returns filed early, right? We just celebrated tax day a couple days ago. What a great day, right?
Well, unless you filed an extension like that.
Yeah, exactly. But most people who know they're going to get money back, they have no problem as soon as they get their W-4 or their W-2, they're instantly filing taxes, right? They're using TurboTax, they're going to somebody, they're getting it done. Especially if they got a lot of kids, they want to get all those credits. They want to get as much money as they can as soon as they get it. So I'm thinking it's already been several months, at least a couple of months, that most people who are getting returns have already received their returns, which means I kind of feel like that was the last almost like little mini expansion we had, little bit of a boost to the economy. All the stimulation that we've had, all the stimulus checks, all the different, expansion. And we've seen the inflation. We see the rising interest rate trying to combat that inflation. And so I think everybody sees, stocks are going down, everything. Everybody's a little leery. We're going into kind of a downturn market. And so I think people just aren't spending as much. Like it could be that the items you have listed, it could be,
it could be a lot of things.
But I think in general, from a lot of people I'm seeing, and again, so it's all anecdotal, unless you're looking, if we actually could look at the macro stats and actually see the data. But if we're not looking at the data, I think probably most people in most markets are seeing a bit of a downturn. And you might be in a market or a niche that is actually excelling right now where people are really trying to get things. But as we've talked about before, I think we're in that like gray area of like, it's kind of unsettling. People aren't sure what to expect. But then if we start to move more towards a downturn economy, like we've said many times, people are going to be looking for cheaper clothes, cheaper shoes, cheaper. And so they might turn to eBay. Now, what they might not be looking for is all the collectibles we're selling. So if more than half of your store is the collectibles, you still might see your 90-day total go down, even if certain categories are going up. So we just don't know what that's going to look like. We just have to be willing to adapt and shift as necessary. I mean, think about, 2020, how many people didn't adapt, and the people who did adapt made a killing. And so the same thing, like
what a year.
As we're moving into this, we got to figure out the same thing. Like, what do we have to do? Where is the market going to move? Because people are always going to be spending money, even if the economy starts to move down, people are still going to spend money on something. So can we get into those markets? So
here's a caveat to all that, though. So I might say that, I'm never big on sharing 90-day totals because you don't know what's in those numbers, right? I could throw out this 90-day total. I could tell you I've sold, millions of dollars over the last 10 years, but what does that mean? Right? So what? So what if my overhead was 90% of that? That doesn't mean anything, right? But this is what I'll say. I have been spending a lot less on inventory. Right. So even though I'm technically making less on eBay gross, net, I'm still doing okay. Right. Because, I've been just doing garage sales and local deals. I haven't been going to a thrift, which the thrift was a lot of overhead. Right. I could get things at garage sales and local deals probably at a quarter of what I would pay at a thrift store. Right. And maybe even less at times. Right. So I'm a little worried. I'm a little worried in the fact that I have this feeling that eBay is doing some major shifting in the background as far as the algorithm goes, as far as how they're pushing things up in the search. I think there's some changes that we're not aware. I think there's some, and I know it's not conspiracy, but in the Discord, we've been talking about some of this a little bit, and on social media. I think there's some things changing as far as eBay goes, in the sense that, we've talked about before that eBay has been profitable, not because of how much they're selling, it's because of how much they're charging. Right. And so I think there's a little bit of shift, and I think Whatnot is going to be filling that gap. And I'll talk about that later. But I will say, sourcing in San Francisco, the same thing became true as what happens in San Diego. If I go to the store that shall not be named, it's a lose. It's just a lose. It's hard. But I went to the high volume thrift stores that aren't huge chains, and there was good stuff there because they're looking at turning things over. Right. And so it was a great trip. I was able to source, I don't think enough to pay for my trip. I was not joking with Mike before the podcast. I probably spent like 2 to 3 times more than I anticipated. I just grabbed a credit card. I'm like, I don't want to think about what I'm spending. That was not a good idea.
Yeah, you got to budget that, man.
Oh, man. But I felt good when I was there. It felt good when I was there.
They know that on vacations, there's the dopamine is rolling, man, and you'll spend more.
Oh, but then I realized, like, what? I spent $300 in food today? Like, because I was like, I took my family out to eat. I took my kids out to eat. Like,
You bought rounds for everybody in the restaurant.
Yeah. I told my brothers, like, get whatever you want. Like, it was a great feeling. And now I'm dealing with the aftermath of it. And yeah, it'll get paid off. I'm not too stressed about it. But yeah, it was a good time. It was a good time. And the unfortunate thing is, and I've mentioned this before, I used to be able to go on these trips, and you can write off some of it too if you go sourcing, because it's counted as work. But it just hasn't been the same, like going to these trips and paying off the trips. But still a great trip. Now, I had mentioned before about the Discord, and I want to say thank you to all of you that have been jumping on. We've had a few people every day jumping onto the Discord, and somebody had brought up the question. I haven't discussed with Mike, but I think Mike's on the same page. So Mike and I initially had discussed about the Discord being free. Right? We kind of had brought it up, and a lot of you, well-meaning, had messaged us and said, "Hey, listen, guys, we know you're all about everything being free in your content, right? Everything you want it to be accessible to everybody, but the problem is when you make it free to everybody, not everybody takes it seriously. You might get all kinds of different people on there. You might get scammers." And at the same time, we want to make it that, like, the people that really care are there. And not saying that if you don't sign up on Patreon, you don't care. And so what we noticed is that, yeah, the Discord has been going the way we want it to go.
Yeah.
Right. It's been just quality people.
It's a good community.
Yeah. Good community, quality sellers, real deal resellers, great info. And it's, it hasn't, no one in there, like no one's showboating, no one's throwing out numbers saying this is how much I made. And if you do, that's great too. We can celebrate together, but it hasn't been this braggadocious kind of social media feel. It's been like a very vibrant, organic community. And so, I had messaged some of you that had messaged me on Instagram asking like, hey, Orlando, seems like you guys are going to keep it paid. And I think Mike and I are in agreement that it's going to be tied into the minimal, the $5.55 a month Patreon sign up, which initially it was only you didn't get anything. Like you just were saying, Orlando and Mike, we appreciate you. Thank you so much. And so we were grateful for that. And now we just want to give a bonus and say, hey, you can just now jump on Discord.
Yeah. And that's the thing is our content is always free in the sense that the podcast will be free. Our YouTube will be free. We'll never do this is the first half of the episode. If you want the second half with all the BOLOs and all the good stuff, the stuff we couldn't tell you, for free, sign up and we're not going to do that. But the Patreon is a good community and we love to keep it that way with the Discord. So for those of you who can, we really appreciate it. And if you can't, we still are active on other social media. So if you want to connect with us, there's many ways you can do that. You can DM us, you can email us, you can call us. There's lots of ways that you can communicate with us. But we do like that Patreon community, that Discord. And really it's not Orlando and I running that in the sense of, hey, we're not every day posting new BOLOs and new. Most of the stuff is coming from other people in the group. Like we're just members in this group. We're all in a group together. So it's a really cool feel. So we'd love to have you there. Thank you so much for all of you who do support us on Patreon. It really helps us out. It keeps the lights on. It keeps these podcasts coming. So thank you very much.
Yeah. And if you haven't signed up yet, just go to patreon.com/PRSOPodcast. There's also a link below. And we appreciate you guys. And I'll throw this out one more time. Some of you have messaged us if there's ever a problem. So we have a couple emails that say that the link hasn't worked because it like expired or something. Or
yeah, if you get a link, if you sign up for Patreon, you get a link. It's 7 days and then it'll expire. You'll have to get a new link if you haven't signed up yet. Yeah, but just email us. We'll get back to you.
Yeah. And again, if you did the whole Buy Me a Coffee, this is the last time I think we'll mention it. If you did a whole year of Buy Me a Coffee, and you're like, hey guys, I already did the Buy Me a Coffee, let us know, and then we'll set you up and we'll put you on Discord and we'd love to see you in the community. So
that's right.
All right, any random stories here?
Yeah, so the very first house, so I'm driving into this community from the garage sales that I went to recently, and I pull into the community, and the very first house that I see that looks like could be a garage sale just had like a playhouse, like a kid's playhouse, plastic one outside, like, I don't know what they call, two-step or whatever. Yeah. So I see that plus a couple of chairs sitting around it. And I'm like, is it? And like, I saw a door open, but like nobody was outside and the garage was closed. And I was like, all right, I'm going to come back and check. So I hit up like 5 or 6 houses and then I circled back and I came back to that house. Still nobody set up yet. And I go back and I hit up like 4 or 5 more houses, come back. And the reason I care about this, you might be like, who cares about a playhouse? Well, I've been looking for one for my son. I've been looking on like Facebook Marketplace and OfferUp. And there have been some decent ones at good prices, but they're like far from me. And my son has been wanting a playhouse. He plays with ones at like at a friend's house. So I'm like, I'm going to get him a cheap one. Instead of spending $350 for a new one on Amazon, like you can get them for like $40 on OfferUp. So I was just hoping to snag this thing while I'm already here at these garage sales. Well, finally I drive by and they're all set up and I'm like, yes, I'm so thankful for this. And the funny thing is I'm like 90% sure this was the house that I bought a electric guitar thing, like a practice guitar, a small a jam stick is what it's called, for $5, and they sell for like a couple $100 on eBay. And the wife was kind of like, you sold it for how much to the husband? It was like this whole thing. Pretty funny. I have a YouTube video on it. You should check it out. But I'm pretty sure it was the same house. And so I'm like, okay, this is going to be awkward, but it actually turned out okay. I don't think they recognized me. But I did have some people recognize me. Some people are like, I remember you from last time.
You could always shave if you came down to
I'm not going to do that. But I picked it up for like a really good price. I basically got it for free, just a few bucks, but I had to drive home because I had the wrong car. It wouldn't fit in the car that I had. In fact, it didn't even fit in the car that I brought. Luckily, I brought a screwdriver, so I had to take it apart. But I waited until after kind of garage sale time was over, came back and picked it up. But then I spent a good portion of my Saturday taking this thing apart, putting it in the back of my 4Runner, taking it home, setting it back up. My son was ecstatic. And so that's one of the beautiful things about reselling is a lot of times you get stuff for yourself or you get stuff for family. And it's cool because, you know, I've been on the hunt for one of these for the last 3 or 4 weeks. And sure enough, it's at one of the garage sales I'm going to. Mm-hmm. But the reason why it's kind of like random is like, is it for sale? Is it not? Is it sitting out in a driveway? Should I just take it? No, I can't take it. Hopefully they'll set up. And eventually they finally set up, which is cool. But like, man, the adrenaline rush of me pulling up when they were finally set up because I had my heart set on this thing.
Yeah.
I bought things that I'm going to make $200-300 on that Saturday. This is like a little toy. Yeah. And I'm not going to make any money on it, but I was more excited to get this.
Because if you don't get it that one time, what are you going to do?
Who knows the next time it's going to be available? Right. And yeah, there's another one going to show up on OfferUp that's super far away and then still have to take it apart. And what if, so it worked out. It was a cool deal. So yeah, the joys of reselling is sometimes you get excited about things that aren't even very profitable, but something you're looking for. And it's always fun when you find something you've been looking for and it just happens to show up at a garage sale.
No, it's true. It's true. Well, good for you. And again, you're still making money because you saved all that money.
I didn't have to buy a brand new one. $350 in my pocket.
Yeah. And you're not as, it's kind of like, I don't think I'll ever, and this is kind of related, but I don't think I'll ever buy a brand new car.
No, you shouldn't.
I know, but I would always be worried about like it getting scratched or getting dented. You know, like my Honda, it gets hit, you know, pay out, and then will I fix it? Maybe. Depends how bad it looks, right? But I'm not stressing about it, you know? Anyways, you're like, whatever. All right, hey, so let me, I want to preface this with this ties into what I've been talking about with eBay making changes. And I don't know, let us know in the comments. Do you think we should make a whole video about what we're going to talk about right now, which you can't really comment right now. So wait till the end. I think eBay has a major vulnerability in their global shipping program. I think it's huge. And I don't think it's being discussed enough. And so I had mentioned in the last podcast how I had sent a new sealed Polaroid camera overseas. Not overseas, I think it's just maybe Canada. I don't know where it was, but it was through a global shipping program. So global shipping program is pretty much fail-safe. Like the moment it gets to Kentucky, I will say it's probably been a handful of times, not even a handful, maybe if I had 3 fingers, okay, at times that I've had any major issues with GSP. One was somebody in Russia who was scared to go to the post office there and pick up their boots. And so they never picked them up. And then they did a chargeback and it became a 3-month fiasco. That was one time. One time I had sent over something that was new and sealed and they opened it and I guess it was like destroyed. But since it was GSP, I was good to go. Another time was I sent something over there and it didn't work or something and they sent it back and it smelled like terrible perfume and I got my money back. So, okay, 4 times. So this is the 4th time now. But this one kind of just, it upset me. Like I've said, eBay lately has been kind of rough for me. So what happened is I sent this new and sealed vintage Polaroid camera and I had shared this. So I'm going over this again, just those of you that are listening for the first time. So the initial discussion was, you know, it says in your listing that it's blue, but it's actually gray. And I'm like, oh yeah, no, it's gray. If you want it, you know, you can still buy it. And that was good. So we're fine. So then it gets over there and it's been about day 23 since it arrived to the buyer. And there's a 30-day return window, but it's GSP and usually GSP, I don't worry about things. So the buyer contacts me and the buyer says, hey, by the way, I know this was new and sealed. I knew it was great, but the eyepiece fell off after a few times of using it. You know, would you be willing to take a return? And I'm like, no, I can't, because I don't offer international returns because of the other incidences I just talked about. Because it costs a lot more. Sometimes it costs more to ship than the item is worth. So I said, no, I don't offer returns. And you know, the item was new and sealed when it got to you. Unfortunately, I can't replace this, so I can't accept it. And then they messaged back and said, understood. Well, I'm not looking for you to refund me. I don't think you did anything wrong. It's not your responsibility. I'm looking for eBay to step in. Which was kind of interesting, kind of weird, but they're right away saying you don't have to do this. So I contacted eBay, and eBay had told me, there's a potential that we're going to make you accept the return. I'm like, what? Well, the buyer already said that it's not my responsibility. Yeah, but the fact that it didn't work the way it should falls under item that is described. I'm like, what? Like the item was new and sealed. Like I don't understand. Like just because they classified it that how do you know over the 20 something days that they had it, that they didn't drop it, that they didn't do anything? They're like, well, it's item that is described. And so it doesn't qualify under the seller protections. I was like, oh, okay. That's kind of, I'm not a big fan of that. And so I said, okay, well, and then they said, just waited a few days and then see if, we can take care, see what happens, see if the buyer, they actually told me to ask the buyer to close the return. I'm like, wait a second, the buyer doesn't want to close the return. So anyways, eventually eBay does get back to me, and it's one of their people, when it's not just a random like boilerplate message, it's from one of whatever their higher ups there. And they send me a message, and basically their message was telling me that since it falls under item that is described, that I need to send them a return label, that I need to take care of it. And I was like, this is so crazy, because the buyer themselves is telling me that it's not my responsibility. So here, I'll read it to you real quick. They said, I've reviewed the details of this request and found that the buyer's claim the item was delivered not as described, which is not true. It was delivered sealed, new, in case as a listing. Then they said, when a buyer receives the wrong item, it arrives damaged. So they didn't receive the wrong item. It didn't arrive damaged. It doesn't match the listing description. Not true either. Or the buyer, which again was verified in the messages when I confirmed what the color was, or the buyer files a return within your return policy, they can return it for you for a refund, including original shipping costs. Because the reason is outside of the buyer's control or within your return policy, we're also asking you to pay for return shipping. I've placed a request on hold for 4 days to give you the time to arrange return shipping with the buyer. Please know if you don't resolve the issue by April 18th, we'll issue the buyer full refund on your behalf without the item being required to be returned. So I'm like, what? I don't understand. Like, it falls under everything. So I call again, and they're like, yeah, the fact that this falls on the item and that is described is why you have to accept the return now. I'm like, what? No, it falls everything. The item was a correct item. It wasn't damaged. It was new and sealed. I don't have a return policy. And they're like, no, it falls under the item that is described. So here's where this plays out for me. And maybe I'm wrong, Mike, and Mike correct me. Let's say I sold PS5. Let's say I sold 20 PS5s. Right. And there's actually subreddit groups that tell you how to scam people on eBay, how to scam people on Amazon. And I'm sure this might be in those subreddits. If I sold 20 PS5s, all 20 of those international buyers could, after 20 days, go, this PS5 isn't working anymore. I'd like to return it. And there's nothing you could do about it.
I mean, I don't know. It matters that it's global shipping in the sense that there's huge shipping costs involved that you're going to have to return. But I don't know if it matters so much whether or not it's global or domestic. If they do the INAD and it gets considered an INAD, you have to accept the return.
Correct. That is true. But under global shipping, there was always this other layer. Right? It was the other layer that once it got to Kentucky, unless it was like a gross, negligent, like different item than you actually sent, like you're protected. Like over the last, 6-7 years I've been doing eBay, I've never had somebody say 20 days after the fact, my electronic didn't work. And so therefore now it's an item that is described. And then eBay telling me I must accept the return. Like before, I've had this happen before. I've sold electronics and they're like,
did the INAD that they were giving on it, were they pointing to the fact that it was the color description versus what they got?
No. Initially they tried. Like the first conversation I had, they brought that up. So I'm like,
what is it they're saying was not as described?
That it wasn't working. The fact that the eyepiece fell off.
That's weird. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. It was upsetting to me because it was just like I used to be so big on global shipping, and now I'm like, I don't know if I'm sending any more electronics.
You're the global shipping evangelist.
I was
GSP.
Now, is it possible that this could apply to clothing? Maybe like, hey, this shoe wasn't as waterproof as it's supposed to be. Like, I don't know, but I got to. I don't know. I'm leery now of doing. I'll still do it, but if this happens to be on a trend, I'm not too happy about it. And again, I don't. I always talk about the rabbit hole where people are like, eBay's the worst, blah blah blah. This is the kind of scenarios that cause people to feel that way, right? Because you feel injustice. I feel injustice till now. Right? I don't care. The $100 doesn't matter. What matters to me is the fact that I did everything right. The seller acknowledged I did everything right, and still eBay was like, nope, pay up. And that's what bothers me. So, all right. Any other random stories outside of that was a rant. I'm sorry. Any other random stories?
No, I think that's good.
Okay. Hey, real quick, I do want to share one real quick. So when I was in San Francisco, it's pretty awesome. And it, the people who are listening, they know who I'm talking about. So during the situation that we went through the last 2 years in the beginning, I had good friends of mine. My basketball coach actually was a mentor to me growing up, and his kids were like 4 years old or whatever. And, I really didn't know them. Right. But now they're like 30, which is crazy how old I feel. And, I went over their house and they're like, hey, check out, just want to show you guys some of what we got. And so I went and man, it reminded me again of how many incredible resellers are out there that aren't on social media, that don't do YouTube, that don't do any of this. You had mentioned that one guy that does like some kind of collectibles. This is the same scenario. So now, this kid that was like 4 to 6 years old, you know who you are. And I didn't mention your names or anything because I don't know if you wanted all that, but they're showing me like grails of grails, like stuff I have not seen in a long time, like all this vintage clothing. And so what they did during the pandemic is they just took off on that. They listened to the podcast. They got a lot of tips from the podcast, which again, I appreciate you acknowledging, but I think you guys went down your own road and figured this out. They got on Depop. They were telling me on Depop, you get to different tiers. And once you reach a certain tier, you're invited to like this high like seller group. And like they share like ongoing trends and what to pick up and so on. It's like this, it sounded very like I want to be part of this group.
It's elitist.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it was elitist. I mean, it was just recognizing hard work. And anyways, so now they have a store in downtown SF that just sells vintage clothing, and they rent out spaces to other resellers that go there. And man, they're just killing it.
Yeah, when the Padawan becomes the master, huh?
Oh, I'm looking at, they're doing far better than I've ever done. Like they're good. And we'll probably have them on the podcast. So by the way, this is an invite. Once we do interviews, I'd love to have you on the podcast. We got to do interviews again one day, hopefully soon. But love to have them on because I don't want to just recognize YouTubers that resell. I want to recognize, obviously, a lot of people message us and say they want to be on the podcast. There has to be the ability to speak publicly, right? Have certain charisma, being able to, hold the conversation. Cause I also know a lot of resellers that are really good, but they're introverts and they're like, Orlando, I'll never go on your podcast because there's a reason why I resell. And it's because I don't like dealing with people all day. Right. So anyways, just wanted to share that where it's like, man, there's so don't try to just learn from YouTubers. Try to find other resellers in your community. And some people will be willing to share, some aren't. But there's a lot you can learn from those that you will never see on YouTube. So, all right, that's my random story. Have you needed some Bubble Boy lately?
Yeah, I love getting me some Bubble Boy. Bubble Boys. Why are you laughing?
It just, whatever. Right.
The way it came out.
Some bubble wrap.
Yeah. Bubble Boy. Bubble Boy is a bubble wrap that we love to use. I like to wrap things in Bubble Boy wrap because I know it's going to arrive where I'm trying to get it safely. Oh, speaking of which, oh my gosh, we had my wife's. I don't mean to make this sad, especially during like we're trying to shill a sponsor here. But my wife's grandma died a few months ago or a month ago, and And so there was a few carnival glass pieces she wanted, and she asked a friend who lived back in Michigan to ship them. And they were shipped, but like just like a very small piece of like thin bubble wrap was put on, and all of the glass shattered.
Oh,
like,
it's the worst.
Nice,
That's
beautiful
terrible
carnival
too.
glass. And I just kept thinking like, oh no, you should have used the really thick bubble boy, like the big bubble, and like double wrapped. And I could just
float the box.
And I could just see the bubble wrap that I would have used and how I would have wrapped it, and versus what was used. And the lady obviously wasn't a professional shipper. She doesn't resell stuff, so she didn't know, and we didn't clearly explain how to do it. We were hoping she would take it to like a UPS store. But the nice thing with Bubble Boy is they've got different sizes, different styles of bubble wrap. So whatever it is you need to ship, they're going to have the right stuff for you. Do you need extra long rolls? Do you need regular width rolls? Do you need thick bubble, like the big wide ones? Do you need the thin bubble? They've got it. They've got it at good prices. It's going to get to you within a couple of days. It's going to be straight to your door. You don't have to drive anywhere. With gas prices going up, you can make sure your items get to where they're supposed to go without you having to leave your door as much.
Yeah, it's great. So use our promo code Pure Hustle Podcast if you're a first time buyer. And again, if you're having issues, contact us. I know there's been things back and forth here and there, but again, if you're a first time buyer, the code will apply. So again, Bubble Boy, American Bubble Boy, that is. All right. Hey, also, I want to mention we are on social media. So if you haven't followed us, follow us. We are Pure Hustle Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And by the way, I think I'm going to start making TikTok again. I'm finding that as much as
YouTube Shorts, man, that was way better.
Yeah, well, we did both. I think we just like double dipped when we did those.
Yeah, we'll double dip.
The only reason I say that is I think TikTok's not going away. I thought it was going to go away like Vine.
No, I don't think it's going away, but I think I'd love for us to keep building our YouTube, especially because once we get to that 10,000 mark, merch. So if you guys want those cool Pure Hustle Podcast shirts, I've got some good ideas.
Hats. People have been asking about hats.
Hats. We can get you hats, all kinds of stuff through merch on YouTube. If once we get to that 10,000, so help us get there.
So anyway, make sure you're following us there, and we are Pure Hustle Cast on Twitter. Right? I actually thought Twitter at one time was like on the way down, but Twitter keeps being like king. Right?
It's the public square for sure.
I mean, being that Elon Musk wants to buy it, that probably has a part to play in it. So.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. It's interesting.
It is interesting.
Fun story to follow. Either way, no matter what happens, I kind of get to just sit back with some popcorn and watch.
There you go. All right. Also, you can give us a call, 619-738-1170. That's 619-738-1170. Or shoot us an email, purehustlepodcast@gmail.com. That's purehustlepodcast@gmail.com. I think we just had a hustle of the week come through, so we will probably be sharing that in the next next themed episode. Also, if you are just following us on podcasts and listening to podcasts, come on over to YouTube, hit that subscribe button and smash the like button, hit that bell notification. Appreciate all of you that consistently listen to us on the podcast. If you've been listening to us on the podcast and you haven't done an Apple iTunes review, make sure to go on over there. It definitely helps us be able to get higher in the algorithm, reach more people. We are the most reviewed podcast and the largest listened to reselling podcast, but we'd love to keep growing, keep helping more people out there. So appreciate all of you. All right. Are you ready to talk about some spring seller update?
Yeah, what's going down? Okay, so we're going to be doing our reseller news. The spring seller update is out. Whatnot is doing whatever. Lululemon launches a resale program, and
we might not get to the last one. So.
Change what we wear. Take it away, Orlando.
Okay. So I always say this with a warning. Whenever eBay seller updates come out, you have to read everything because there's always these surprises, right?
Got to read the fine print.
We always had the item specifics apocalypse that happened. We had the promoted listings apocalypse, like all these things that was in the update, but no one really paid attention. And then when eBay started clamping down on things, people were like, what is this? YouTube videos are being made. We made our own YouTube video about it, and people were getting upset. But the reality is eBay actually said all this. It's just that we just missed it. We missed it in the writing. So but I will say this spring seller update wasn't too transformational. It is interesting though. As far as, the one thing that they reiterated is that they're going to eventually, I say eventually now, they're going to force people to pay. And so what I so what I mean is, they had promised in the winter update. So in the winter update, I'm trying to pull it up here. In the winter update, they had said that eventually they're going to make sure that when people send offers, or when you accept an offer, or when you send an offer, that eventually, they're going to cause people to pay right away. The interesting thing about this is that they said this in the winter update. In the winter update, they're very clear that they're going to make sure that everybody pays up, because that's the biggest beef with eBay right now, I think, for every reseller. The idea that out of every single platform, the platform that has been selling online the longest is the platform that still hasn't figured out a way to cause buyers to pay when they purchase something. Still strange. But here's what I find is interesting. So this is the spring seller update. Let me read to you the language of the winter seller update. So this is back in, I think, like October or whenever it was. So they said, we're continuing the work we started in 2021. So they waited until 2021 to address this. Remember, we were at eBay Open in 2019 talking about this. There are people, many of you, that have been talking about this since 2010. To reduce unpaid items on eBay, which we know has been a long time standing challenge for many of you. That's such an understatement. In October 2021, we piloted a new process for collecting payment from a buyer automatically following acceptance of their offer. To do this, we asked the buyer for payment and shipping details and the best offer flows. In the coming weeks, we plan to expand our coverage and include more buyers, which should further reduce unpaid items for buyer offers. Okay. So they said in the coming weeks. Okay. Spring seller update. In the 2022 winter seller update, you learned about our continued work to reduce unpaid items by automatically collecting payment from buyers when their best offer is accepted. We're excited to keep the momentum going by expanding these efforts to other best offer scenarios, including offers to buyers and counter offers. Later this year, buyers will also be able to request bundled offers, which is nice. We talked about this in our last podcast, things that eBay should do. Multiple items when they make a best offer. We hope these changes will help you reduce operational costs and spend less time dealing with unpaid items. You have more time to focus on growing your business. So
yeah. The hard part is, these are literally an update as opposed to like an implementation of new changes, which is kind of hard. It's like, here's an update of what we're doing as a company. We're still working on this. Enjoy your update. Like, not like, hey, this is a new feature that's rolling out on this date.
No, it's not like, here's the update to the update. We're still updating like that. I'm like, what? Come on. Like, come on. Like, by now, let's get this going. Like, or at least explain why. Is it because, something with coding? Is it because, of managed payment? Like, what is taking so
a company's not going to want to reveal that, though. Hey, we're sorry this is lagging. We're having issues in our coding department. That's not going to give trust to the shareholders at all. Or sorry, this is lagging. We're dealing with legal. Or sorry, like, they're not going to give the why. They're just going to put the best face of like, we're continuing to work on this.
Yeah, I know. And I'll talk about whatnot in a moment here.
This is lagging. We have a bunch of employees we need to fire because they are terrible. Like, they're just not going to say that stuff, But it will be nice. At least
we're not getting the same message of, well, back in the day we used to accept money orders. And so it was kind of a transition for us. Remember that?
Yeah, we're still transitioning.
That was like the worst. Like,
I understood the logic. Like, that wasn't what they are as a company. And they had to add that. But like, how about you add it?
Yeah, but that's like talking about like, right now we're still, like, let's say a company came out with the stick shift. Like, that was their base model. Like, that wouldn't fly anymore.
Yeah, you gotta update with the times. They're already like, there's news flying around about like, is eBay gonna accept, some kind of cryptocurrency? They've been kind of floating that.
Don't accept crypto until they accept cash.
That's what I'm saying. Like so it's like, are we gonna try and get with the times, or are we gonna try and get like futuristic? Can we catch up first? Like, let's catch up, and then we can deal with like cryptocurrency and like paying with eye scans and stuff. Like, how about just, automatic payment first?
I know, if they start going, we're going to accept biometric payments. Wait, you can't even accept credit card numbers. All right. Hey, positive thing though. We had mentioned some of this on the podcast previously about what eBay should be doing. I like it. eBay doing bundling, I think it's a great thing. I think it'll definitely help. I like how it seems like they came to understand when they're saying, when they talk about the idea to reduce operational costs and spend less time dealing with unpaid items. Because there is time being spent, right? You know, the idea that, you know, there's the cash flow part. There's a part that you have to now track it and relist it. The fact that sometimes you have to message buyers, you have to send invoices, all just time wasters. Another thing, eBay messaging is now being expanded more, which I feel kind of bad because I thought that was like a done deal.
No, I kind of just wish they'd just roll it out. Like, you know, like when they do like a phone update and, you know, once you update, like you have the new thing. That's just how it should be. It should be like, hey, you know, we're updating our app, like press refresh, press update.
Well, no, that's what they said.
Now you have the new messaging system.
Well, that's what they're saying if you want this new messaging, but they say make sure you have the newest version.
Well, maybe I'll double check.
Maybe.
I don't know. I just got a new phone and reinstalled eBay, so you would imagine it would be the newest, most updated version, but yeah, maybe not.
Now, they are more item specifics are coming our way.
Yay!
So somebody on the PR team needs to.
Oh, I do need to update. Look at that.
Oh, there we go. What if now live on the podcast?
This is happening. This is the moment where I get the new message.
Maybe because how many times have I asked Mike, did you get the new message? He's like, nope.
This is, I look like a fool. I'm like, it should just be part of an update. You should just hit update. Oh, look, there's an update. Let's see if this works.
All right, let's see.
All right.
You got to go to your messages. Oh.
Wait, that was an
no,
eBay
yeah,
one.
you
That
can't go
doesn't
to,
count.
you got to find a buyer.
There we go.
There you go. Nope.
Maybe new ones, like maybe a new message will.
Yeah, when you get a new message come through, do you need me to like message your store?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nah, not right now.
All right. So more item specifics, you know, whatever. I mean, I recently, what was it? There was something. Oh, I bought I have a couple Huffy bikes, like some Lightning McQueen Huffy bikes. And I was going through the item specifics and it was like type of brake, type of tension, type of I'm like, what? No. Like I just put C pictures. And I don't think that's what you're supposed to do, but I
wonder if you could just put random letters and numbers for those and if that like flies. Cause yeah, it makes sense. Like if I'm looking for a certain like cycling road bike and I want to make sure it has like SRAM brakes and it has, you know, certain brand of shifters and Gator tires and like, yeah, I might be looking up those things. But yeah, for if you're buying a 6-year-old Huffy bike, Lightning McQueen, you're not looking for that stuff. You're just looking for that it's a bike. So yeah, I wonder if you just put like X304 as like your go-to for those things, like if that flies.
I don't know. It was funny because, by the way, if you haven't checked out our YouTube video about how to quickly update our specifics, check it out. I spent a good amount of time putting together a video and the information still applies. It's been like 2-3 years since I dropped that video and gotten a lot of good reviews on it. So check it out. They are providing, so they changed it where you could do payments now where you get paid like once a week or once a month or whatever. But now if you need the money right away, you could do an immediate payout if you need it. So I guess that's a good thing. But now we had mentioned this before, how it'd be nice if you got paid that money, it'd be nice if you can get it right away. But now you can also spend that money on eBay right away. So hopefully that'll bring more business. Kind of like on Poshmark, you know, you sell something, you don't get paid out right away, but you do have that credit there. So anyways, that's something to look out for. And the last one, I think that's pretty much it. There's a couple other things on there. I just wanted to share what I felt was most relatable to us, and hopefully it's relatable to a lot of you guys. And Mike, is this for Instagram? Like,
I'm gonna post that in our Discord.
Okay.
Let them know that we're recording right now.
All right. Okay. Let's talk about Whatnot. So I've done 3 auctions now, and I'm doing a 4th one. So if you're listening to this, I'm going to do this weekly now. I went from
you're into it, huh?
I'm into it.
Feeling it?
I'm gonna.
You were like, I think this is the last one ever. I just got to do one more. Or I'm gonna do one more, but this is the last one.
I know.
It's addicting, huh?
So let me explain a few things here. Number one is I think eBay is losing thousands, maybe millions of dollars right now. They have to be, because what I know from what I see is a lot of big YouTubers are going on there and they're selling all kinds of stuff. Okay. Now, are we getting top dollar like we would on eBay? Nope. But am I moving inventory? Yes. Am I dealing with, cases being opened up against me and so on? No. Do I have any returns? No. Do I have people paying right away? Yep. Do I have, shipping that's, pretty cheap? Yep. Like it's right now, and I always say this getting early. So for example, I throw out the example about Mercari. Oh, I just got an offer on something. So Mercari, back in the day, Mercari came over from Japan, and Mercari was like brand new. And the way that Mercari was able to gain some of the market share, it was beautiful. For like a year, there were no fees. So whatever I sold, I made that money. And right now, Whatnot, I think, is taking advantage of the fact that they now, they have cheap shipping. So like you saw, like I do hats, right? So you buy one hat, it's $4 shipping. Each additional hat's only $1 shipping. So if you buy 10 hats from me, what's that? You're paying $4 for the first one and $9 to $13, and you're getting 10 hats.
Now, are they covering the shipping on that? Like, what if the shipping costs more than?
No, it's kind of like the way that Poshmark used to be and all that. Okay. So if you can get in Whatnot early, I would. And again, I know some people say, well, it's only good if you have a large following. I see it as social media. And what I'm recognizing, there's a lot of people that don't have a following, but they have a lot of followers. And why is that? Because they've been on the platform for a while. They've been active. Now, Whatnot's been around for like a year. So we have good friends of mine that have been on there for a year, and they make a killing every week. And they don't have a huge Instagram following. They don't have a huge TikTok following in relation to like the big YouTubers and so on. But they have consistent buyers. They have, consistent people that are showing up, and they probably have more followers than we do. And Whatnot, we only have like 90 on eBay. I have like 900 people following my eBay store. Somehow they find me on one of my stores, and only 90 on Whatnot. So here's why I like Whatnot. I like the fact that if I come up across a huge thing, I don't have to spend the hours doing item specifics. Like I find a Lionel hat. I type in Lionel. That's it. I don't even have to put the size. I don't have to put condition. I don't have to do any of that, because on the live stream, I turn the hat around. I show what's on there, and that's it. It's good to go. Right. There's no, questions as to, okay, what is the size and everything. You're sharing that right there on the live stream. The other thing, I like the fact that people are paying right away. The moment the auction ends, and like eBay, where somebody can win an auction and then not pay. It's just obnoxious. Like, I can't even tell you. Come on now. eBay's been around since 1996, and we're still playing this game? No, Whatnot, it's boom, right away. And people cancel. I haven't had anybody cancel on me yet. I've only sold about like 60 items. So I haven't sold like.
I should turn that hat that I got from you and see how that process goes.
Here's the funny thing. You know that hat that you bought? Uh-huh. I didn't know that people that are watching something can watch it even after it's ended.
Oh, really?
So somebody messaged me and was like, hey, I'm interested in that hat. And I'm like, unfortunately, it's no longer available. Now, I did contemplate messaging Mike and go, hey, Mike, you want to like split the profit on this hat? Like, if you send it back to me, I'll just relist it on eBay, sell it, and Mike gets half and I get half, and we're all happy. But right now, Whatnot is a quick way to offload stuff. It's a good way. People are happy all around. The buyers get their collectibles they want. Resellers are able to get a good deal. Like, I just think it's a great way. And with eBay, I have to promote my listing. I have to I maybe even do pay-per-click.
I mean, you do have to bring your audience to Whatnot, which is tough.
That is the tough part. I agree. It's the same problem if you started your own website, right? Yeah. Starting your own website, you have to bring all the traffic. That's why we're always big on start on eBay. But I do think that Whatnot is if eBay does not get there, and I mentioned this, I think we're the only people that have talked about this. I haven't heard any other YouTuber talk about that. eBay actually, in one of their investor, what do you call it, reports, whatever, they had shared that they're going to do live auctions on eBay. Like, eBay needs to either buy Whatnot like ASAP, or they need to get that set up like ASAP. Because somebody had mentioned, it's funny how people get really upset. Somebody had mentioned somewhere, I read on social media, that the reason that eBay sales are slow is because everybody's going to Whatnot. And I'm like, no, that's not true. That's like that's like not even possible. But I will say eBay is losing a lot of market share, I think, and the larger it gets, the more market share. So Rally Roots, who has over 200,000 subscribers, just did a paid promotion with Whatnot. And guess what? All the people that watch them, all the people that watch that YouTube, they're gonna go like, I wonder about Whatnot. Should I get started? Should I get on that platform? And so I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. And because I'd have to pull up the numbers exactly on Whatnot, how much money they're bringing in, what their total.
Well, they're being evaluated for over $1 billion now.
$1 billion?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, it seems pretty high for what they are, but maybe. But the thing with eBay is kind of a vertical or a horizontal company. They sell in a lot of different categories, a lot of different things. And a lot of other companies are coming in and taking vertical slices out of it.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Let me read real quick before you do that.
Sure.
So Whatnot, this is September 2021. Whatnot, a live streaming shopping platform for collectors to buy and sell things like rare Pokemon cards and Funko Pops, has closed a $150 million Series C. It's their round of fundraising in 2021 alone. This round pins Whatnot's valuation at $1.5 billion, earning its spot on the ever-growing list of unicorns. And This is September. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, but that's what I mean though. So like they're taking different things are going to take a portion. So Whatnot is never going to be eBay because they're not
100%. I agree.
But because they're not doing VCRs, they're not doing, all the different things that you can get on eBay, like the random stuff. They're collectibles in the same way that like you got Depop and then you got Poshmark for the everyday clothes that people wear. And you got different companies that are coming in and literally taking vertical slices. They're not competing horizontally with eBay. They're not competing across every single category. So yeah, maybe they're 10% of the size of eBay. It's like, well, it's small fries compared to eBay. Yeah, but if they're 10% the size of eBay and they're taking literally 10% of that whole market, or maybe 50% of used clothing is going to Poshmark. Yeah, maybe used clothing is only 10% of eBay, so it's not a huge deal hit to eBay, but all of those things add up. And so yeah, companies like that are losing vertical slices of their company because they're not adapting and these other companies are coming in and innovating. And that's a good thing. I mean, we want innovation because then, yeah, it's going to cause eBay to either figure out how to do those things better, or we're just going to have that as the new thing. You're going to have these random companies coming in, figuring out how to do certain parts of that niche better. And then we just have to adapt and get on those platforms too, or, stay in this horizontal that's maybe not growing as much as it could.
So what I think Whatnot did right is what Poshmark tried to do.
I mean, Poshmark is still bigger than Whatnot.
Yeah, correct. But Poshmark, remember, they were trying to be like social media. Right. And I don't think it went well because they were trying to internally be social media. Right. So you go on the Poshmark stories. I think they had stories and like you watch Poshmark stories, whatever. But Whatnot is people, big influencers are bringing in their audiences into the Whatnot app. Right. So it's happening from the external into the internal. So all these people are coming in. And then on top of that, there's the idea that I think it runs like social media. Like the more auctions you run, the more followers you'll get. Because we'll get random people that weren't even like on Instagram that'll just start following us just because they were looking for vintage, whatever. So did you? I didn't mean to cut you off. Were you trying to say something there?
No.
Okay. So anyways, that's why I think Whatnot is something that is definitely I would look at if you're a reseller that has a lot of inventory or you have the ability to get consistent inventory. I think it's a good place for you to sell. I will tell you, the time that you'll save by not going to other platforms may be worth it to you. Maybe worth it for right now. Things may change here soon. You may have return policies that pop up. You may have higher shipping that pops up. You may have higher fees that pop up. I mean, who knows what'll happen. But right now, yeah, I'm gonna do it once a week. I'm good with it. Even though I'm not getting. Here's the thing: you always learn, right? A sale is better than no sale, right? So I've been selling stuff that has been sitting on eBay for a long time. And I'm selling on Whatnot, and I haven't had to pay as much fees. I haven't had to do promoted listings. I haven't had to deal with any of that. So, all right, that's it about that. Okay.
All right.
I just want to talk about one more thing. I think the other things we can push back.
Let's do that.
In case you didn't know, this is a sad day. So remember the frenzy we had about priority padded flat rates, and we thought those were discontinued, and I literally have like 1,000 right now of those. Oh, yeah. Right? And that was not true, but this is true. Uh-oh. So the large flat rate boxes, the game ones, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Discontinued. Those are gone. Do you have any of those left?
I don't. What do they sell for on eBay?
You can't. It's illegal. It's federal. It's federal crime. Now, not to say people aren't trying to do that. I haven't seen any, but I have about.
But I mean, you can sell it as a collectible, can't you?
No, it's you know, we're dropping an episode on Monday on how not to get banned on platforms.
Well, what if
that's one of the ways to get banned?
But what if you ship it? Like, what if you build it and ship it empty?
What? No, you can't. You can't. It's on the box. You know, that's what's funny. It's like the store that shall not be named every once in a while.
What if you sold
those?
What if you sold and not that anybody wants a full size box. I'm just trying to. This is like a fun thought experiment for me. You can't sell the boxes, right? They're discontinuing us. What if somebody's like, I really just want this box in my collection. I collect boxes, and I'll never be able to get this box. So could you sell like a Post-it note inside of a large flat rate box?
Yes, that you can do. That you remind me of my friend that sold his our good friend.
Yeah.
What he sold a paper clip.
Like Clash of Clans.
Yeah, it was like a Clash of Clans account. You can't sell those, but he sold a paper clip. And I think he sold it for several $100s. So the account was attached to his paper clip.
Yep. The account info.
So maybe you could. I'm not playing that game, but that's one way to do it, I guess. So don't get banned. All right. Hey, that's our current topics. Now, before we move on, though, we're going to talk about BOLOs, but here's a BOLO. So I had a good friend of mine, Andy. I know you're listening to our podcast. Appreciate you tuning in. And he got the skull shaver. And he was like, nice. He's like, Orlando, it's not as close as a razor, but it's good. And I'm like, isn't it? Good. And again, Mike and I love the word shill because it has such negative connotations, right?
Yeah, we love shilling.
But we do shill. I mean, it's part of running a podcast
shill
and being on. But here's the thing. We're only going to shill products that are legit. I can't think of one time that we shilled something that we didn't believe in. Yep. I know, I can't. I'm trying to think. Would I confess it? Yeah, I would. But I can't think of one. Now, we did have a company at one time that almost didn't pay us. They're almost there. They're gonna pay. They're gonna pay soon. But I really think the skull shaver is such an amazing product. I went on this trip to San Francisco, and I was able to look fresh and clean every day with that skull shaver. So if you haven't experienced a skull shaver, go to skullshaver.com. Use our promo code HUSTLE with a capital H and get that discount. Helps you out, helps us out, makes the world a better place. That's right. Skull shaver. All right, let's talk about some BOLOs.
Bolo.
What's your BOLO?
All right, so we are coming into, and I don't follow this scene, so I'm not sure if it's like nationwide, but at least here in our local area, we're coming into rodeo season. And I know a lot of people in this area who aren't necessarily like cowboys or cowgirls, but they like going to the rodeo. It's like, oh, the rodeo's in town. We got to go see the rodeo. It's kind of like a thing people are interested in doing. It's fun. It's exciting to do.
Like if you go to Coachella.
Yeah.
You know, go to that trash thing. I almost wanted to joke and said I went sourcing at Coachella, but I don't know if you would have believed me.
Yeah, I don't know.
If I told you I went to Coachella, would you believe me?
Maybe. I mean, were you like sourcing like shirts?
No, anyways, the reason I say that is because cowboy boots were huge at Coachella.
Were they?
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyways, go ahead with your BOLO.
So, but yeah, so with the this season upon us, with people going to rodeos, a lot of people are going to go to this, and they're not, like I said, not necessarily cowboys, but they want to kind of like look the part a little bit. You know, they want to
posers.
If I'm gonna go, I gotta wear some cowboy boots. I've got to wear a buckle. I gotta wear a cowboy hat. I mean, what's the point of going to the rodeo if I'm not gonna wear a cowboy hat? It's kind of like here in San Diego and Del Mar when we have the horse races. The first day, it's like the hat day, and all the ladies wear like the big fancy hats to the races. And it's one of those things like you might not be into big hats, but if you're going to the races in Del Mar, you're wearing a big hat, right? So there's gonna be people who are in the area who are buying those things up. And I'm sure it's that way across the nation. There's going to be states and cities that are going to have more cowboys than others. But a lot of people are going to be going to those types of things. So the bolo itself is things like cowboy hats, cowboy boots, cowboy buckles. But just think about this, how it applies to other things. When there's like, hey, this thing is in town, the whatever is being popular right now, people get into it and they're going to want to dress the part, act the part, at least for that time. And then it goes with that with even titling stuff, because the cowboy world in like country music and stuff, cowboy hats have always been a thing, but like baseball hats are becoming more and more popular. Like the popular country singers will just wear a baseball hat or wear a trucker hat. Like that is becoming more and more popular for like the newer ones to do that, is like on stage, they're not wearing a cowboy hat, they're wearing a baseball hat. So if you're to type in those things, if you're like, oh, this kind of looks country, and just type like rodeo in the description, like great to wear at a rodeo, you never know that might be the keyword that people are looking up rodeo clothes, and it shows up there. Be clever with the way you're putting keywords in and tagging things and putting descriptions in, because you never know what you're going to get. We talk about this with things like white elephant gift, different things like that. Add that into your description somewhere, and you never know, that might be what catches the sale on a baseball hat, is the fact that you put rodeo in there.
But I will say, yeah, and I put rodeo. And here's the interesting thing. I just sold 3 rodeo buckles, and they were like to specific rodeos. Like somebody got like second place in one or something, and they still sold for good money, $30-$50 a buckle. And so, yeah, cowboy stuff is definitely a bolo. I sell a lot of Western wear. We live in a part of San Diego where it's very, we're in East County. So it's like cowboyish, right? Depends where I'll still go with my starter jacket and my Allen Iverson still rodeo, but that's how we do it. All right. My bolo is coffee machines, and I'm sure we brought this up, and I was,
love coffee machines.
But I just sold the barista, the Starbucks barista.
The one that's been sitting there for the last.
It was. I posted today on Instagram. We're recording this on Monday. It literally is 3 months. Mike can attest that it was sitting for like 3 months, and I finally got around to listening, and it sold like in 7 days. So I paid like $35, and it sold for 140 something. But man, if you can find espresso machines, obviously do the research, because like Rival isn't probably a good brand, okay, or any of those, but like Starbucks stuff, I can't think of the big ones. Let us know in the comments, what are the big names? I've sold the big names, I just don't remember them because I'm really sticking to clothing these days. But I will tell you, coffee machines, and even the parts, right? Even the little spoon that you scoop for the espresso machine, I wish I knew. Oh, the portafilter, like that sells for like $40 alone if you get it from a barista machine. So keep an eye out for coffee machines. If you don't want to test it, you have 2 options. You can sell it untested, and it'll go to like a company that refurbishes things, like the Seiko company or whatever. And you may not get full dollar on it, but if you paid like $5, $10, $15, they may pay you $60, $70 for it, and then they'll flip it for $200. Or you can part it out. I've parted out coffee machines before, and you can make decent money. So keep an eye out for coffee machines. All right. What are you looking forward to here, Mike?
I hate listing, but I'm looking forward to listing. I'm not looking forward to like excitedly, but I'm looking forward to it in the sense of my death piles are out of control, and that's not me. Normally I'm pretty good about, the discipline and keeping things going, but reselling kind of took a back seat for a little while. And then I didn't want to necessarily load up a bunch of stuff because I didn't know if I was going to move this year or not. Looks like I'm staying at least for another year. So now I'm like, okay, I could start buying stuff, but my shed is getting full. So I've got a lot of things to list. I'm excited to get those lists going and then kind of trigger that algorithm a little bit and hopefully make some monies.
Nice.
What about you?
So first of all, I'm looking forward to, I need, the thing with Whatnot is you need consistent items to sell. Right. And so, I have, almost 3,200 items in my inventory, but I don't want to touch that inventory. I want to keep that on eBay. So I want to find stuff that I can just keep selling on Whatnot. I want to make Whatnot a weekly thing for as long as I can. Right. And so I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to growing our following there because, it's our Pure Hustle Podcast account. So Mike can jump on there. Maybe Mike and I will do a dual auction. We'll just come together and we'll just split the earnings there. I'm going to be shifting to Amazon a little bit. I am finding right now that, like I said, I think eBay has not been consistent for me, I'll have those low dollar days and I'll have a high dollar day. And then it's just been all over the place. Where the thing I've always liked about Amazon is if the ranking is there and, I have good metrics and it has good reviews, it's going to sell. Now, there's a lot of risk. There's capital. There's what if another seller jumps on there? What if Amazon jumps on there? But, this last summer, I did not do Amazon in the summer and I felt a hit financially. Where every other summer, I've always had a good summer of Amazon, which has carried me through. I haven't had an eBay summer slowdown, but it's just made my summer look more like a Q4. And so I want to do that again because I didn't do that this last one. And I'm looking forward to garage sales, man. I got to tell you, the ROI on garage sales just can't be beat. You just never know what you're going to find. It's fun going out there. Man, if I could do garage sales every day, I would do that every day. And again, some of you are like, Orlando, you get tired. Probably. But that's how I feel. Not facts. That's just how I feel. So anyways, hey, Hope, thank you for listening in. This is always one of our longer podcasts. There's just a lot to cover, a lot to talk about. Let us know any of the, what you think. Do you think that Whatnot's a viable thing? Do you think that eBay is going to take over? Are you having a great week of sales? Or you've seen things slow down? Is the macroeconomics playing a role in how you do reselling? Let us know in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe, smash that like button. And as always, make sure to be real,
Be relevant,
and be reselling. Peace.